We heard earlier in the earlier session about the history of IRENA. It's an idea that was started here in Germany almost 30 years ago. And so to see it coming to fruition and also being represented here in Germany is a very good thing. It was formed in 2009 formally and only became an agency in 2011. So we've been in operation as an agency only for 3 years. Our director is Anand Amin, who is from Kenya, but he's been in the UN system for a very long time, and he's directed the organization very well recently. And our mandate from our member states is to be the voice, to make the credible case for renewable energy deployment, the widespread deployment of renewables in a sustainable way. So our mandate is not to cheerlead renewables, but is to make the case for sustainable widespread use of renewables. So we have 3 programs: the Innovation and Technology Center, which is based in Bonn, and which is where I work in. And then we have 2 programs in the headquarters in Abu Dhabi. Again, this is another thing that many people always ask me when they say, oh, IRENA, International Renewable Energy Agency, why is your headquarters in Abu Dhabi, a fossil fuel intensive area? It's a very good thing because it brings a lot of argument, the debate about renewables. How do we use renewables? In these countries, you used to have oil being sold at $2 a barrel to generate electricity. It doesn't make sense. Now, these countries are some of the leading countries who are the proponents of renewables. That can only be a good thing. So thanks to Germany that IRENA came to be about, and thanks to the United Arab Emirates, there's a lot of discussion about how do we best use our resources. And so as part of that hub duty, IRENA is doing this project called the Remap 2030, which we had mentioned a bit earlier on. And basically, Remap 2030 is saying, how do we go from where we are now to doubling the share of renewables by 2030? Do we go from 18% to 36% by 2030? What do we need to do? What are the technology options? Which countries can work together? What type of international collaboration can we do? What else can we do to achieve that target? So the Remap 2030 project started with 25 countries. In Africa, we have 3, South Africa, Nigeria, and Morocco. And then we have Brazil, US, Germany, France, Italy, Russia, China. And those countries between them represent about 75% of the energy consumption. So looking at these countries and seeing where are they now, which policies do they have in place now for clean energy? And if we bring in this idea of doubling the share, where would they be? Sorry about this. Agro-processing is very big in Africa, and therefore if you could look at maximizing the value chain in agro-processing in Africa, you can achieve a lot. You can contribute maybe in some cases up to 30% of energy, therefore contributing to energy access, because lots of the residues there are not being used at all. It just shows an example of what needs to happen. But for this to happen, we mentioned earlier about technology. So do countries in the global south have the capability to do these technologies? What is required to have these technology transfers that they need to achieve this level? We can discuss this in the panel discussion. Also, what IRENA is doing, which is also very big, and also in terms of the energy access, is the Clean Energy Corridor. And starting with Africa, we have the Clean Energy Corridor in Africa, and it was mentioned earlier, Mr. Marie mentioned about what the AEEP is doing with the Program for Infrastructure Development in Africa, and this idea that if you look at bringing these energy groups together, what are the opportunities for renewables? How much renewables can you put in? How can you best maximize renewables in this area? So you look at the East Africa Energy Corridor from Cairo to Cape Town, as we call it. What are the opportunities for renewables? If you can do that, then you can address the access agenda. This energy issue would only be addressed if we can have private sector investments. For private sector investment, we need to have a very good understanding of what the costs are. So IRENA is doing a comprehensive set of studies on cost, understanding the cost landscape, and also showing that the costs are coming down. The costs are coming down. We deploy more renewables. We deploy more renewables. The costs are coming down. And therefore, sooner or later, the renewables make the case for themselves. Yeah, renewables become a teenager. They can go to adulthood, and they can live a life of their own. In developing countries, not many people are yet able to develop bankable projects. So we're developing the project navigator to help project developers so as they can go from an idea in the mind to a bankable idea that can get funding from a bank. We're looking at renewable readiness assessments where countries come to IRENA and say they want to look at where they are, they want to identify their priority sectors, and IRENA works with them to come up with an action plan, an action agenda that brings in renewables and the related value chains in those countries. And also, we mentioned before, and again, the water, energy, food nexus is very important because a lot of these, there are interrelating demands for water, energy, and food. So we have to understand exactly how they play so that when we're developing energy solutions, they are compatible with food and water.